Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
And a very good day to you. Hello, bonjour, ciao, ni hao, privet, hola, g'day. You're listening to the Road to the World Cup 26 podcast, part of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only place to find your regular soccer content on the top English Premier League teams, women's football, and of course, because you are listening to this, the World Cup 2026, which is, of course, another week closer. We're into, not many weeks to go, really. We're in less than a year now, Kenny, and it'll be almost all done and dusted.
Final lap. We're on the last lap.
We are on the last lap. Yeah, we're on the home straight. Not quite, but lots more to cover. Lots more to cover. I'm your host, Nick Britten, and as always, I am joined by my great friend and esteemed colleague, the cleverest man in the world, according to him, the Beaver, Kenny Davies. How are you, mate? How's your week been?
I'm good, actually. I'm good. I'm still slightly in recovery mode, but enjoying the sunshine. Enjoying what's been going on with in football, with one notable exception we're about to talk about. But yeah, raring to go. Jordan's been a fascinating country to take a deep dive into. So I've always wanted to take a deep dive into Jordan, and this was my opportunity.
Thank you very much. I was waiting for your first Jordan gag, and it arrived probably actually a little bit quicker. You caught me on the hop there. It's quicker than I expected. For anybody who doesn't know, who's not in the UK or somewhere in where this woman goes on holiday all the time, Jordan is a very famous supermodel, and I use the phrase loosely, but she's a very famous model, and Ken's obviously got a bit of a thing for her. So we're going to try and get through today's podcast.
What are you talking about?
We're going to try and get.
Are you talking about Katie Price?
I'm talking about Katie Price, yeah, because I know you were. So I want to get that out of the way.
It was not, I'm afraid. You don't want to drag this into the gutter if you want, mate, but I ain't coming with you.
That's okay. I mean, to be fair, I knew we were doing Jordan this morning, so I've woken up feeling a little chesty, genuinely. Anyway, let's move on. Because last week we're going from one end of the spectrum to the other. One end of the spectrum to the other, because last week we did Brazil, who are obviously, one of the greatest football teams ever to take part in a World Cup. And today we're going right down the other end to a team that nobody ever associates with the World Cup because they've never played in one. So, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody in between, today, strap yourselves in because we're going to do a deep dive into the football team that is Jordan. What do you reckon, mate?
I reckon that was about to break into some kind of bass dub thing afterwards. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, after that. Yeah, that was like just the introduction. And it just kind of, the whole thing breaks down into some kind of house dance thing. What do you think of that? It was very, very slow, wasn't it, to begin with? I mean, you wondered where the next boom was going to come from. But I actually quite liked it in the end. It's very martial. It's very, we're all marching off to war, wasn't it? Really, but it was slightly depressed. It wasn't really uplifting, was it? It was more like, bloody hell, we're going to war. None of us want to go.
I thought when it started with that massive drum roll, I thought, okay, we're in here. I like the national anthem.
Yeah, here we go.
Drum roll, but it never kind of moved from that, did it? Never really got going.
Well, we don't know what's on the other side of that. The other side of that might be absolutely amazing. It might be number one in the Jordanian house charts. We don't know.
It isn't. I've listened to the rest of it. It isn't.
That's not winning the World Cup of national anthems, is it?
Not really, no. But it was good. It was a good start, but yeah, it didn't really kind of get anywhere, and that may reflect the Jordan performance in the World Cup next year. It started.
I'm not sure about that, by the way. One thing I would say about national anthems, which has been a bit of a disappointment to me, I would imagine, that the Jordanian national anthem would sound at least a little bit Middle Eastern. I would hope it would. It doesn't. It sounds like something straight out of a Italian opera in 1723. They seem to copy European style of national anthem, and I wish they wouldn't. I want something that sounds Jordanian, and that didn't. That sounded like it was from Hungary.
What would sound Jordanian?
Something with when you hear kind of Middle Eastern kind of.
If you got a phone call today from the King of Jordan and they said, Ken, I need to write a new national anthem now, and told you're the guy to do it, what you've got a blank piece of paper, where are you going to start?
What you start off with is kind of Middle Eastern note changes, because they don't use the same kind of note changes as us. We work on a very Western kind of note system, don't we? We are in terms of our melody development. And that's what they're using there in their national anthem. But actually, the Middle Eastern one's completely different. It uses semitones and things more. We're getting into musical theory, but that's what I'd like to see.
Questions you wish you'd never asked. Right. Okay. Let's move on. So on today's podcast, it follows a similar theme to normal. So we're going to be having a look at the history of Jordanian football, and Ken's been digging into all of that. I have picked out 5 key players who are going to have to do the work at the World Cup next year if they're going to do anything.
And you had to do your work doing that, didn't you?
I had to dig. It took me quite a long time actually to research these players, because I just got to find out who they are and sort of look at them and look at some videos and look at how they play. Because normally you've kind of got a good idea. You've heard of some of these players. I hadn't really heard of any of these players before. Jordan is not a well-known football nation, so but
I hope you've mastered the pronunciation.
No problem whatsoever, my friend. We've got. I am James from Boston. If you're listening to this, by the way, thank you very much for your letter of about 3 weeks ago. We are going to get around to discussing your point today and the question that you've raised, which is, do teams like Jordan, we looked at Uzbekistan a couple of weeks ago, these very small nations who are in reality only really, really qualifying for the World Cup because of the expanded tournament. They wouldn't normally get in with 32 teams, but with 48 teams, they're going to get in. But do they add anything? Do they add anything to the competition? So we're going to have a quick chat about that later on. We've got Kenny's quiz, of course, everybody's favourite time of the week, and a look at the manager Jamal Salami. We'll finish with predictions, as we always do, as to how Jordan are going to get on in next year's World Cup. But we will start, as we always start, with your weekly World Cup news. Good shuffling of papers, as always, Ken. There's only one place to start. There's only one place to start, really, with news this week, and that is, of course, the very, very sad death of the Portugal international forward and Liverpool player Diogo Jota, who died tragically in a car crash yesterday. It was aged only 28. Died with his brother Andre Silva in Spain, and Ken, he's a great loss to international football.
It's great. He's a great loss to the world. It's a great loss to Liverpool. It's a great loss to Portugal. It's a great loss to anybody who follows football. Absolute tragedy. Coming only a few days after he married his long-term partner. Absolutely devastating. Universally popular. People who don't follow Liverpool, they knew all about Diogo Jota. He absolutely lit up the Premier League. It's a tragedy. Our hearts go out to everybody affected by it, and there's an awful lot of people affected by it. I come from Liverpool, close to it. I know what a tragedy it's been there, and Liverpoolians are good in these circumstances. They do rally round, they do say how they feel about things, and everybody, I think, is very devastated by it. So we'll miss him. Great player, absolutely lit up the Premier League, and our hearts go out to everybody affected by it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Looking at the television pictures this morning from Liverpool, there is, as you would expect, outside the ground, an enormous sea of scarves and balloons and flowers and shirts and everything you might expect. But it isn't just Liverpool, because obviously in the modern way of consuming media these days, it's all about clips and short form media and video and all of that. So whereas historically you might support a team, these days young people particularly grow up supporting players and following players. So players like Jota and many other players, they become far more well known right around the world. So you don't have to be a Liverpool fan or a Portugal fan to know who he is. And I think we've seen this over the last 24 hours since this terrible news came out of the absolute outpouring of grief just from everywhere and from players from places that you just wouldn't even think that they were aware of him, because they're not on his kind of team sphere, if that makes sense. So when these things happen, I think it really amplifies how enormous these football players are and how huge the game is globally, and these individual players are well known. So, of course, our thoughts, everybody at Global Sports Podcast Network, are very much with him and his family and his friends and everybody affected by this. A real loss. A real loss.
Yeah, and it puts in perspective. Every now and again, these things happen. We've seen it. We saw it with Christian Eriksen, didn't we? Sometimes things happen that people just stops people on the tracks and thinks, well, it's only football. And
yeah, very much so. I mean, very much so. I mean,
that's a good thing to happen to come out of it, I think.
Yeah, we were taught at journalism school. Actually, one of the things we were taught when we did all our journalism training all those years ago was that when you are reporting on football games or rugby or cricket or whatever, you've got to be very careful about how you describe these things, because the hyperbole from supporters, particularly, and things like that. You lose a game 1-0 or 2-0, and it's a disaster, it's a tragedy, it's a nightmare, and all of that. But you're taught very early in journalism that actually you can't use that kind of language, because it's not. It's a game of football which hasn't gone your way. You haven't won it, or you haven't played well, or it's kind of so what? It's just a game. And when you have sort of massive shock events like this, that is a tragedy. Yeah,
proper tragedy. That's 28 years of age.
Getting beaten by Wrexham because you're on an off day is not a tragedy. It's just an off day.
It's just an off day.
Not that anybody's get beaten by Wrexham next season. Right, okay. Move on. The main story at the moment elsewhere going on in the world of World Cup news is one that we've been reporting on for the last couple of weeks. And this week it's been gathering pace, actually, with FIFA now facing calls to restructure games and change kickoff times for the World Cup next year to accommodate the welfare of players and supporters and indeed everybody else involved, just because of the searing heat. Now, we've been all over this the last 2 or 3 weeks. We know the problems that's been going on at the Club World Cup in terms of the extreme heat and also the thunderstorms. So Chelsea's game ridiculously got postponed for 2 hours with 4 minutes to go. The players got taken off for 2 hours and had to come back and play the last 4 minutes of the game, which impacted the game massively because Chelsea were just cruising to 1-0 win, broke for 2 hours, came back and conceded a goal. And the whole thing had to go extra time, etc., etc. So the Global Players Union, FIFPro, I'd never heard of them, actually. I didn't know they existed. I don't know whether you did. Anyway, Global Players Union, FIFPro, are now calling for FIFA to take action. They say this whole competition's been a wake-up call. And they're calling for longer half-time breaks, more drinks breaks, and there have even been calls elsewhere for matches to essentially be played in quarters, not halves. Now, if you're going to have a drinks break for 2 or 3 minutes halfway through a half, well, that is kind of splitting it up into quarters, isn't it? But yeah, these calls are growing. They also want games to be delayed or rescheduled if it gets over 32 degrees heat. So again, you might be in a position where you the whole game is being played, and then with 15 minutes to go, everybody goes, right, it's 32 degrees, lads, everybody off, come back tomorrow. I mean, it's just crackers. The whole thing's absolutely crazy. There are 104 games in the World Cup next year, aren't there? You can't start just mucking around with them willy-nilly and rescheduling them here or there at a moment's notice. So FIFA are going to have to get on top of this early. And if they are going to reschedule kind of now so that everybody knows. You can't just wait till the day before and go, oh, lads, it looks like it's a bit of storm in the sky. Tell you what, we won't do tomorrow, we'll do the day after. It just doesn't work like that. So I don't think FIFA can ignore this any longer. It's too big and they're going to have to do something. Is that fair?
I think it is fair. I think there's 3 things that have kind of come into my thoughts this week with everything that's going on around this, which is something that we'll be keeping an eye on right from the start. Firstly, I think it's going to affect the selection process of where we play the World Cup going forward. This has now happened. We have Qatar, we have America, and we've got these problems with heat. Climate change is a reality. I think it's going to start becoming a factor in the selection processes, and it should, because actually asking people to perform at the highest level in conditions which are dangerous, I don't think it's just not going to work anymore. So I think that's an important thing. The other thing that crossed my mind as well is one of the things that we've seen take place over the course of the last 5 years in football is 90-minute games end up being 100-minute games now.
You don't get 90 minutes. You don't get 90 minutes.
You never do, and especially in international games, the elimination, this war on time wasting that kind of took place, the elimination of time wasting. We all know now that we're going to play 7, 8, 12, 9 minutes of injury time every game. This is going to become an issue. There's going to be more time wasting because people are just going to be destroyed by the heat. I think the other thing is, and it's an interesting pivot, this, and I'm just wondering whether this will be an important moment in time in football. Does football end up being 4 quarters? 4 15-minute quarters. I mean, the Americans would love that because it fits into everything that American football is, which is loads more ad breaks, loads more very staccato.
4 15-minute quarters is a 60-minute game, yeah? Football's a 90-minute.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, four 22.5-minute quarters.
Okay, no, I wonder whether you were going to have
you're right.
Doing the thing where the clock stops when the ball goes out.
No. What I'm saying, I think the Americans like the idea of quarters and have always liked the idea of quarters in relation to soccer. And this just might be if they go down that road, that might be a road that we go down irrespective of any temperature concerns. So it's a really interesting subject. It's a really interesting issue. It's going to be very interesting in terms of how FIFA deal with it, both in terms of this competition, but more long term as well.
Yep, absolutely. Right, okay, let's get stuck into Jordan. That was your weekly roundup of World Cup news, but we are here today to focus on the Jordanian national team. Ken, you've been looking at the history of Jordanian football and what they've achieved thus far.
I have. Before we get to that, by the way, just like they do in Jordan, we know that in football it pays to get your team selection right. And here at Global Sports Podcast Network, we've spent a lot of time selecting our delivery partner, and we chose Zencastr. In fact, as we go into 2025, 2026, we'll continue with Zencastr because Zencastr makes it easy to bring your vision to life, share it with your audience wherever they are. So with 4K video recording, easy AI editing, top-tier distribution, all in one place, super simple. If you've got a story to tell, you want to tell it with Zencastr, and you need to check the show notes for more details about how you can. Now, Jordan have no World Cup pedigree. Known locally as Al Nashama. Al Nashama stands for the chivalrous ones. If you're going to have a kind of a motto or a legend for yourselves as football players, the chivalrous ones. That sounds lovely, doesn't it? I bet they're not. The chivalrous ones. That's lovely. So they've never appeared in the World Cup, but they have appeared for the first time in the final of a major tournament in 2023, the AFC Asian Tournament. They lost that game 3-1 to Qatar, but that was in Qatar. And in getting to the final of the 2023 Asian Cup, they beat Iraq, they beat Tajikistan, but they beat South Korea 2-0.
That's better. I think we're looking at slim pickings, actually. But
Tajikistan is great, but it only goes so far. So beating South Korea 2-0, so they're capable of an upset. The qualification for the World Cup was reasonable. There's all kind of rounds in the. If you're ever struggling to go to sleep, go and listen to the AFC Asia episode we did when we were doing the qualification processes. Einstein failed that test. I mean, it's complicated.
Yeah, it's really
incredibly complicated. Yeah, but Jordan entered in round 2. They played 6 games in round 2, won 4, drawn 1, lost 1, with a goal difference of 12. So they played pretty well. In the round 3, which is the round that delivers the guaranteed places, they played 10 games. They won 4, drew 4, lost 2. So it's League of 6, finished second behind South Korea. They got there on merit. You're quite right in what you say. They probably wouldn't have got there with a 32 team tournament. But Jordanian football is going through something of a renaissance. If you look at Jordanian football historically, essentially there's 4 periods. There's a period of, there's 5 periods. The very early period when essentially they were learning how to play. There was a development period from 97 to 2007. There was quite a renaissance when they really moved up the rankings in 2008 to 2015. Then there was a period of stagnation where they just kind of fell back away, 2015 to 23. And now, since 2024 and their success in the Asian Cup, there's a bit of a re-emergence. So there's a lot of confidence in the team. We'll come to how they play and things like that. But finally, just talk about ranking, as we always do. They're 62nd. So they've done well to qualify. Don't laugh. They're 62nd. They're not 210th. They're 62nd.
No,
they've done well to qualify for a 48-team tournament, but they are likely to be a minnow in a tank of sharks. Let's be honest,
mate. There'll be a minnow. There'll be a minnow in a tank of minnows. There'll be like a super minnow.
We're going to come back to that. They've been as high as 37th. Now that's high. Remember, Brazil were 22nd. So but as recently as May 2018, at the middle of this stagnation period, they were only 118th. So in the last 7 years, have been quite a significant rise. They've kind of halved that number. They're 62nd now. So not a great pedigree, but not without the potential to cause an upset. And we'll come to that later on. But that is a 5-minute synopsis of Jordanian football.
Pretty good. Going right back to the crustacean period. Well done, mate. Well done. I enjoyed that.
The crustacean period?
Well, the crustacean period.
The crustacean. What was crustacean period? When the world was dominated by lobsters?
But they started out by playing crab football.
Very good.
Right. Yeah. Cretaceous period is what I meant to say. Right. Okay. Right. Let's look at 5 key players. Now, we've been obviously, our job here to Road to the World Cup is obviously to take the mickey out of things because that's what we like to do. And we'll come to predictions a little bit later on. But I've picked out 5 key players for Jordan who are actually all very good players. And you talk about they could cause an upset. They've got players, particularly at the top end of the pitch, who are capable of doing that. So we're going to have a very quick whiz through 5 key players. So write this down, people. Write this down, and then come back to me next year when Jordan are playing and go, yeah, you know what, Nick, you were right. They were all right. These players, they were okay. The first one is I actually always like to start at the back. So I always like to have a look at the goalkeeper because it's such a pivotal position. And it's slightly unusual, this guy. So the goalkeeper in the current setup is Yazid Abuleya, and he's 6'2", he's age 32. But despite being age 32, he's only played 72 club games in his entire career, which you would expect, which is unusual. It's unusual particularly for a goalie because if there's any position you're guaranteed to play every single week, it's in goal once you're in. He's played 47 times for Jordan on top of that, and he's been their main keeper for the last 3 or 4 years. If you look at the World Cup qualification, he's conceded 12 goals in 16 games, which is impressive. Yeah, it's impressive. And his save percentage during qualification was 70%. So he's had a good World Cup qualification period. He's done well.
No question.
So maybe, like a lot of goalkeepers, he flourishes when he gets into his sort of early mid-30s. So we'll be keeping
good age for keeper. Good age for a keeper.
Keeping an eye on him. Then we're going to move on to the top of the pitch, and a very good player, actually, and that's Yazan Al-Naimat, and he is 26-year-old. He's an attacking midfielder or a striker, so he can play up top or just in behind. He scored 8 goals in 16 qualifiers, which is good. Plays in the Qatar Stars League, which is the Qatar Stars League, which is in Qatar and it's full of stars. His movement and finishing are the thing.
This is the kind of analysis that people tune in for, isn't it, really? You're not going to get that anywhere else. They're not going to work that out for themselves, are they?
I don't think so. Well, what do you want me to say about the Qatar Stars League? I mean, I went down.
Move on.
Well, I could talk about my local five-a-side league if you want. It wouldn't be far away. His movement and finishing are what he's all about. That's the important part. He provides that little, in the middle of the pitch, we've just got that player buzzing around, making stuff happen. That's kind of his role in the team. He's joint top of 6 assists during the qualification campaign, which is impressive. And 23 goals in his 57 games, which is not bad. I mean, look, you've got to look at some of the quality of the opposition they play when you roll out these stats.
Yes, you do.
Because you could say, he scored a goal every other game. Brilliant when you're playing for Jordan against whoever that team was.
Tajikistan.
Yeah. But if you're not so impressive, but if you're playing for Brazil and score a goal every other game, or you're Argentina when you're playing top level opposition, that's a lot more impressive. But you can only do what you can do, mate, and you can only beat the teams you're up against. So,
correct.
Well done. One to look out for. Next player is a very, very rare European-based player. In fact, when Moussa Al-Tamari signed for Rennes, or actually no, he signed for Montpellier first of all, he became the first ever Jordan football player to play in Europe. He signed for Montpellier a couple of years ago. Is now playing at Rennes in the French First Division. So he has got quality and has got pedigree. Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So he signed for Rennes just in January this year. He scored 7 goals during qualifying. Very much key figure in Jordan's run to the 2023 Asian Cup final that you were talking about a few minutes ago. He's pacey, he's good with the ball at his feet, and he's a playmaker. Now, I always like it, as you always know, when you always research these players, you always come across one of them who's referred to as the such and such Messi, or the such and such.
Which one's this?
Of that particular region. And Moussa Al-Tamari has that honour of being nicknamed the Jordanian Messi. So there we go.
What I'd like to do, out for every team who that Messi is. We want to know the Messi, don't we? Of every team.
Every week. When we come to smaller nations, particularly, obviously, if we're doing Argentina, the Argentinian Messi is Messi, but all the smaller nations have a kind of nickname of Messi. Somebody's Messi.
Brazil don't have a Messi, do they?
No.
They wouldn't go there.
No, they've got the Brazilian Neymar in their team. So when this all finishes, when we've done all the qualification teams, I want to get together an entire team of Messis from around the world, and we should see who they are.
Yeah, it's just who plays in goal, because he'd be 5'7".
It'd be rubbish at corners. We could try and build a team of Messis from around the world.
There's a whole host of things we're going to do at the end of this. We've got the World Cup of national anthems. We've got rivalries that don't really exist, which I love, and now we've got Team of Messis. Brilliant.
Team of Messis. So Moussa Al-Tamari will be in that because he is the Jordanian Messi. So 77 caps for the national country, 22 goals during that time, and he is actually considered to be one of the greatest ever players for Jordan. He's got kind of that mantle that he's a bit of a national legend. So we'll be looking out for him next year for sure. Ali Olwan is 25, and he is Jordan's key attacking threat. He was the top scorer in the third round of the World Cup qualifiers, scoring 9 goals in 13 games, including a hat-trick in the crucial 3-0.
Quite a hat-trick, by the way. I've seen highlights. He's a good player.
Yeah. No, he is a good player. That's what I mean. You look at these players, and it's very easy for us to sneer at them. And to be honest, our we like to sneer at people because that's what we do. We like to take the mickey. That's just the way we do it. But actually, they are very, very good players.
Speak for yourself.
No, I'm speaking for you as well. So he played for Selangor in the Malaysian Super League last year, but he's currently a free agent. So, mate, if Wrexham are looking for a striker, he's strong in the box, he's clean in front of goal, and he's Jordan's biggest attacking threat. So, get on the blower. Get him down the Cas Ray for next season.
Correct.
And finally then, Mahmoud Al-Mahdi, who's 31, so he's the oldest kind of player in my list. What I like about the list that I've got is that they're all kind of prime age players, so 26, 28, 25. The 3 players I've just gone through. I like all that. Mahmoud Al-Mahdi's 31. He's a winger. He is their most potent creative threat in terms of that wing play, so they'd like to get the ball out to him. He plays in the Jordanian Pro League for Al Hussein. He played for 23. Interesting stat about this guy. He's played for 23 clubs in the last 11 years.
23?
Yeah, he don't put down roots, does he? He's represented 23 clubs in the last 11 years. Impressive.
Blimey.
Yeah.
He's a Bedouin. He kind of just moves around from one to another with his camel.
He does. Yes. And you said that you don't take the mickey out of players. Right. Yeah, in the World Cup qualification, he's created 26 chances, which is way more than anybody else. Way more. And he's joint on assists. So he is their their creative, one of their key creative attacking threats in those wide areas. But he doesn't score many goals. He's only scored 6 in 49 caps. But I think what you're looking at there, you're looking at Al Mahdi. They'll get the ball out wide to him. You've got Al Neymat, who'll sit in behind as an attacking midfielder to create that kind of creativity in the middle of the pitch. You've got Al Tamari, who's a winger on the other side. You've got Olwan, who can score goals up top. So if they're going to do anything at next year's World Cup, I do think they've got attacking threat. If they can keep balls out the other end of the, out of the goal, they've got capability up the top end of the pitch.
Very interesting. Interesting deep dive into players from Jordan that we feel close to now.
I feel proud of that, to be honest with you, because I had to do a lot of research into this.
That's work, mate. That's work. Yeah.
And I had to watch them play, and I had to sort of get a sense of what they're all about. So, yeah, there are your 5 players, people who will keep a good eye out for. Keep a good eye out for next year's World Cup. Question is, Kenny, how are they going to line up?
Well, interesting, because this is one of the more interesting aspects, I think, of Jordan, is that they always, the manager, Jamal Salami, I wish I could think of a Salami joke, but I can't. Just so I have to think about that while I'm doing this.
Well, not unless you want to rate this explicit, move from family show to 18 plus.
No. There must be loads of clean jokes about Salami. Anyway, Jamal Salami is very rigid in his setup. He always plays the same system, which is an interesting system because it's one we've not come across before. A 3-4-3. So Abu Layla, as you say, at the back in goal. Nasib, Al Arab, and Albani, Obaid, I should say, in the three across the back. Asaf, Al Razdan, Sade, he's a smooth operator, and Abu Tahar, and Olwan, Al Namat, and Al Tamari up front. And so he's got these 3 very capable goal scorers up front. He's got 3 at the back, absolutely centred around Al Arab, who's the mainstay centre half, and he's got this 4 across midfield. Interesting setup. He played it against Iraq when they lost 1-0 in the most recent game on 10th of June. Played it in against Oman when they won 3-0. We mentioned Ali Olwan got his hat-trick there, 3-4-3 again. Going back in time, when they played South Korea in the qualifiers, that would have been their best team. They played the 3-4-3, and it's exactly the same, pretty much the same setup, pretty much the same players. He sticks with the same players. He sticks with the same formation. So I think one of the things we're going to get is a very settled team. We're going to get a team that knows their role, which I think, given limited resources, is a pretty sensible strategy. So 3-4-3, same players, and we can all get used to watching them game after game, I think.
Yeah, I think it doesn't do well to start mucking around with formations if you're a nation of this size with the players that you've got. Find something that works for you. 3 up top, I like that. Support from the wide areas in the 4-man midfield. Sounds good. I like a manager who plays to his strengths.
Yeah. I think he does, and he's been there a long time. I think he knows the players very well, and I think he knows his formation very well, and I think that's going to give him a little bit of a chance. But we're going to come to that. Sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. Anyway, I've got good news about Salami because he hasn't been well recently. He's been in hospital, but he's better now because he's cured.
Oh my word!
Thanks very much. Slow on the sound pad there. It wasn't. Anyway, right, come on, mate. Do you want to do a quick ad, and then we're going to get into a very quick discussion about whether teams like Jordan add anything to World Cups?
I will. And Global Sports Podcast Network is partnering with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements, because your body is unique. Because without knowing what your deficiencies are, if you're taking off-the-shelf supplements, you might be taking too much of what you don't need. You might not be getting enough of what you do need. So Bioniq provides 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver exactly what your body needs, exactly the right levels, help optimize your health. So there's no guessing. So check the link in the show notes, use the code GSPN 2025. You get a 40% discount on your first order. So what are you waiting for? Nick, looking out the window, seeing if the postman's been yet. Has the postman been yet, mate?
He wasn't, but I thought somebody was going to come and deliver something to my door. So fortunately, you're not. Right, okay, good. Now, James from Boston, thank you very much indeed for your letter of 3 weeks ago. Apologies for the delay. It's been so busy on this podcast. Is so busy. There's so much to cram in. We haven't yet got around to discussing it, but we're going to do it right here, right now, because it's very relevant to today's team that we're talking about. And James from Boston wrote in to say, look, do teams in expanded World Cup, what's the point of it? Do teams like Jordan, and we did Uzbekistan a couple of weeks ago and had a look at them, do these minnow nations who have never qualified for a World Cup, who were never likely to qualify for a World Cup under the traditional format, but now that it's expanded, they've given a chance, do they actually add anything to the World Cup? Are they going to turn up, just get trounced and go home again, and everybody just forgets about it till next time? What's your view on this, Ken?
Well, my view is they do add something to World Cup. I like watching the minnows play. I get quite excited for the minnows. I love an underdog story, and most of the minnows who are going to be playing at the World Cup, obviously, are going to be underdogs. But let's think about it a different way. Football, soccer, it's the biggest sport in the world. This is its biggest stage. And I think it's reasonable that the top 23%, not even 25%, the top 23%, 48 out of 210, get to play on the biggest stage. I don't think that's unreasonable. If 50% were playing, that would be something else. But 23% of the top teams, the top 23% play in the World Cup. I think that's okay. I think it acts as an incentive for players and for teams to improve. There's a chance. There is a chance the dream can come true for any nation. And we talked about it earlier in this podcast series. New Caledonia are in the playoffs. They're one step away from the World Cup. I mean, if that's not an incentive to dream for footballers all around the world, I don't know what is. And we've seen how teams ebb and flow in the rankings. And there's, that 35 to 60 level, teams come and go and come and go and come from 120th into that and then drift away again. I think the idea of giving teams a chance to participate is a great one. It's a thoroughly positive one in the sense of, I think before it was a closed shop. It was just the teams that always played. And I love the idea of giving other teams that wouldn't normally have played in the World Cup the chance to experience that. So I'm very keen on it. I think FIFA have got this about right. I'm not sure about 64 teams in 2030. I think that's a step too far. But I'm very, very comfortable with 48 teams. So welcome, Jordan. We're going to roll out the red carpet for you.
Well, I think that's a very persuasive argument. I absolutely, I couldn't fault any of that in terms of stating the case. My concern, as it always is with these things, that you are watering down what is an absolutely elite competition of the best clubs in the world. And particularly if they're going to go further and add more teams in, when is this going to end? When are you just going to have you're just going to have no qualification and just have every single team in the World Cup who's ever kicked a football? I think the World Cup is the absolute pinnacle of international football and should be played with the best teams in the world because it is the global showcase. Then you might want to add in a kind of second tier World Cup for teams like Jordan to give them a chance of actually winning anything. But the reality is they're going to go to the USA. They're going to Mexico and Canada. They're going to find it incredibly difficult. And yes, they'll be participating. But what does participating mean if you're not going to go and try and win something? And people want to watch the best teams in the world. Okay, they want to watch the elite football players who are absolutely at the top of their game. And I'm concerned that, and this is not nothing about Jordan per se, but the teams that are really the minnows, as you call them, Ken. Are they just watering down and making up the numbers? And therefore, what is the point? If you've got no chance of winning competitions, kind of what's the point of entering them? And that's my worry. My worry is that they're going to go, and not specifically Jordan, but teams are going to go. They're just going to get tanked. Everybody's going to take the mickey out of them, particularly you. And they're not going to really. They'll say, "Yeah, we had a nice time," but they're going to go back there with sort of, heads not in shame, but heads hanging a little bit. No goals, no wins. That's enough about Scotland, anyway. But you know what I mean. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just feel that 32 was a good number, and I'm not quite sure that the expanded competition is going to allow the team. And you're quite right; it's all about inclusivity, it's about representation, it's about aspiration, and all that. I don't disagree with any of that, but I wonder if FIFA can do something else to give these nations a profile that they deserve and that aspirational quality that doesn't water down the biggest football global competition.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I like the idea, though, of these players. When I've watched World Cups in the past, even when it's 32, even when it was 2014, and you always get players from teams you don't expect emerging, and players like in the shop window. And it's just great, isn't it, to imagine, Al Tamari at Rennes, or probably not even Al Tamari, someone like Abu Layla in goal, who somebody looks at, some Italian team or Spanish team or Belgian team or Wrexham look at and say, he's a decent keeper. Let's open the doors to him. I think from a player's perspective, it's a fantastic shop window for them to show their skills. And I love the idea of these players from these slightly less famous teams being able to do that. So I'm keen on it.
Okay, well, we'd like to hear your view as always. So do drop us a line on this. It's always a contentious issue, I suppose. But let us know. Let us know. Road to the World Cup.
The competition I would love to see. The competition I'd love to see is the 48 worst teams World Cup. I would pay proper money to take the 48 worst teams and say, right, go and sort it out for yourselves. See who's the best of the worst 48.
So rankings 200. So it's San Marino, sort of Liechtenstein
against New Caledonia. Yeah. British Virgin Islands against Guam. Yeah, you've got
that. You've got something about a game. You like that, don't you? Love games like that. You love games.
Love games like that. Love games like that.
You're the only one there. You could choose your seat, mate.
Great.
Maybe so. Let us know. How do people get in touch with us, Ken? Is it road to World Cup 26@gmail.com? It's our email, isn't it?
It's something like that. Yeah.
And you should know these things.
I do. So let me do it properly.
Yeah,
I hope you're enjoying the Road to World Cup 26 podcast. We're enjoying bringing it to you. So please subscribe, leave a review, share the podcast. We want to hear your thoughts about the whole World Cup qualifying process, about all the teams, about your opinions, about our opinions. So the best way to do that is send us an email. The email address is road2worldcup26@gmail.com. Couldn't be easier. We want to hear from you.
It's everybody's favourite time of the week because it is now time for Kenny's quiz. How are you feeling about this weekend?
Not positive, not confident, slightly nervous. I've not done any homework. I've no idea about anything in relation to Jordan. I'm just going to be guessing, quite frankly.
To be honest, I've had to make these questions really easy because I looked at about 4 or 5 quizzes on Jordan in order to prep for this and to set you what I hoped would be an achievable task. And they were impossible. They were just really, really random questions. You just think there's literally no point. So I've tried to make this the easiest quiz of the entire podcast series to date, in order to give you a chance. So I would be surprised. I'd be surprised if you didn't get at least one of these 3 questions right.
Right. Okay. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Have you got your pipe?
I'm ready.
Have you got your pipe?
Oh, hang on a minute. I've got it now. The thinking pipe.
Yeah, thinking pipe, because it always helps you. Right. Of course, Jordan is famous for being on the Dead Sea. Why is the Dead Sea called the Dead Sea?
Is it about its salinity? Is it about the fact that it is such a saline aquatic environment? I sound like David Attenborough now. That it is impossible for normal aquatic life to thrive.
Absolutely right, Ken. Absolutely. Wow. Congratulations. It's called the Dead Sea because no major life forms can survive in it because it has an exceptionally high salinity, around 10 times that of regular seawater. So as a result,
Wow.
only very small amounts of specialized bacteria can survive in the Dead Sea. And that's why it's called the Dead Sea.
Wow. Well,
Very good.
I can't flabbergasted. This pipe works.
1 out of 1. Jordan achieved its independence. We were talking about the national anthem a little bit earlier on, weren't we? That national anthem was written in 1946 when Jordan became independent and became an independent nation. My question to you, question 2, is from whom did it gain independence?
Jordan. I've got a sneaking feeling it was us. Because I don't think Jordan was 46. That was after the Second World War. It wouldn't have been Turkey by then. So I'm saying from the British Empire. Oh my
Correct.
word!
2 out of 2.
Wow.
Mate. The United Kingdom. Yeah.
Jordan's rapidly become my favourite World Cup country.
This is unbelievable. For
It's
a hat trick.
unreal.
For a hat trick.
Yeah. Just like Ali Osman.
Aliola. Yeah. Ali Osman's not playing today.
No. He's
To be as good as Ali Holwan and score a hat trick, can you, to the nearest million, tell me what Jordan's population is?
Yeah, and then I know the part B or B, and can you name them? I know that question. So, to the nearest million, how many people live in Jordan?
I was going to do a my usual borders type question.
Yeah, don't.
But no, it's quite tricky actually, and it's almost like
bordering on the ridiculous.
Yeah, so I haven't done
anyway.
that. So I've gone down the road with Jordan's
million. Surely to the nearest 5 million.
Well, okay. Everybody at home who's listening to this, shout this out. I hope you've got the first 2 questions right. If not, here's your chance to pick a random number between 0 and a million or billion. So, yeah, to the nearest million.
I can't imagine there'll be many. I can't imagine. I'm going to say 9 million people live in Jordan.
You're not far away. The answer is 11.5 million people live in Jordan.
I think that's creditable.
Yeah.
I think they get half a point for that. I get 9 million points for that.
I don't think you get any, because I was going to give you 10, 11 or 12, but 9 is not 10 or 11 and 12. So
no, it isn't.
That's a very good effort, mate. Very good effort. That was arguably your best Kenny's quiz you've ever done.
I think it was. I feel quite surprisingly. I think questions weren't the hardest, but they weren't the easiest.
No. But you know what? You either go fairly easy or completely impossible. There's no in between with Jordan questions. Because I wrote down about 10 questions for you for this, and I'm looking at most of them going, it's just ridiculous. So there's no kind of in between testing questions.
National animal of Jordan.
By the way, what is the national animal of Jordan?
The shrew.
Nearly. Try again.
The camel. The polar bear. The penguin. The yeti.
You're getting no, you're not even getting close. So the
beaver. The beaver.
No, the beaver. No, it's not. The national animal of Jordan is the Arabian oryx.
Yeah, obviously.
Which is a little bit like a goat with really long horns. That's what an oryx is. I should have had that in, really, shouldn't I? I should have had that in. Right. Okay. Before we finish,
that's everything we need to know now.
No, nearly. Before we finish and before we get onto our predictions to how Jordan are going to get on in the World Cup next year, a very quick look at their manager, Jamal Salami. 53-year-old former Moroccan international player, took over the manager's role in June 2024. He's on a 3-year deal, and he guided. Look, as we've talked about, he's guided Jordan through a strong third-round performance in qualification. He's done well there, finishing second in Group B. His general form, interesting that you talk about formation there, Ken, because it was 3-4-3. He generally likes to play a little bit like Nottingham Forest do in the Premier League. He tends to not really want the ball, so he's very happy for the opposition to have the ball, and he'll just suck them in and then hit them on a break. And he's all about transition. So I can imagine, thinking in a 4-3-4 formation, I can imagine that they'll get the ball deep, they'll go early, and you'll have your 3 front players, and they'll be supported by the 2 wide players. So essentially, you'll have a kind of 5-man attack, if you like.
Wow.
And I think that's how they're going to play teams. I think they'll sit deep, they'll allow them to have the ball, and then they'll absolutely hit them on a break. That's kind of what I want them to. That's how I think they're going to play. And by doing so, by having that kind of low block, I expect them to be quite hard to break down, because they have got, as we've discussed with the players, pace and power up top. They have got the capability to hurt you. Salami said last week that he developed a comprehensive strategy. So he's not going there just to make up the numbers. His preparation strategy includes going to Morocco. He's going to have a training camp in Morocco. He's going to play some of the top African sides to get them ready for the World Cup.
Going to Morocco, that's where he's from. Let's be honest.
Yeah, he just wants family holiday. Yeah,
isn't he? On the Jordanian Football Association ticket.
But he knows the setup, and I quite like the idea that he's going to be playing some tough teams in the run up to it, because we always talk about England just playing sort of terrible teams and then arrive at a World Cup
and losing to them.
Not really, they're just not really prepared. Losing, they're not really prepared. So fair play. They're not going there just to make up the numbers. They are taking this very, very seriously, and Salami he's got as good a shot as any. So fair play and good luck to him.
Yeah, he was a good player, but he always used to slice his shots. Thank you.
Right, final to finish the podcast, mercifully. How do you think they're going to get on, Ken?
Now, this is an interesting one, because the obvious thing to say is they're going to get eliminated in the group stages, and I'm not going there. Because, and hear me out on this, because I'm looking forward to seeing Jordan play, because I think they've got an interesting setup. Now, I'm going to be first to say, against better, more tactically flexible opposition, they're going to struggle. Clearly, because somebody's going to work them out. And I think the better teams are going to work them out. But there are 2 things that I think really are in their favour. Firstly, I think they're going to adapt to the temperature better. I mean, they play football in Jordan. I mean, they are going to be used to playing in 32 degrees. So I like the fact that these people, the Jordanian football team, are probably slightly more acclimatized to the conditions than other teams are going to be. So I think we've got to put that as a tick in the positive box. I think the second thing is I like the fact that he's got stability in the team. He's got stability of players. He's got stability in the system. They know their system, and I think they're going to be able to execute that system well. So again, that's a tick in the positive box. So they clearly are one of the minnows, but I think they're one of the minnows that's going to get through the group stages. And I think they're going to be eliminated in round 32, but I think they're going to be able to go back to Amman. That was a question I was hoping was going to come up, which is the capital of Jordan, with their heads held high.
Well, that took me by surprise. Because that would be an exceptionally good performance if they managed to get out of the group stages. That really would.
It would.
I'm sadly not as optimistic, but neither do I think they're just going to get tanked every game, because I don't think the setup and the fact they've got quite a decent front line, I think it means that they're going to get a chance. I can see them drawing a couple of games in the group stages and maybe finishing third in their group. I don't think it's going to be enough to get them through. They're going to finish third or fourth.
Some third places go through, Some of the best third places go through.
There are a lot of teams going to the World Cup, as we've discussed, and to go through, you're going to have to win games. My concern is, are they going to be able to keep the ball out of their own net? That's my concern. I think they're okay going forward, but my worry is that they're going to come up against reasonably good teams, and they're just going to not have the capability to either break them down or concede goals. It could sort of 0-0 because they know how they want to play, but they can't just quite do it because the level of teams they're playing up against is better. So I'm going to give them a puncher's chance, mate. I'm going to give them a puncher's chance, but I don't think they're going to get out of the group stages.
Fair enough. I've made a note of that. I've got them going out in round 32. You've got them going out in the group stages. Who would have thought it? 54 minutes, 33 seconds on Jordan. And I said at the start of this, before we came on air, let's make this a 35-minute one. It's Jordan. It's Jordan. 54 minutes, mate.
Well done, mate. You've done 54 minutes on Jordan. Congratulations. That was good, but that was good. I hope that listening,
this is winning the Pulitzer Prize. This is our best work.
Nowhere else in the world, people out there listening to this, nowhere else in the world will you find a podcast that takes you through the entire Jordanian team and gets you prepared for what Jordan can and can't offer at next world. This is the only place.
Jordan can offer a lot.
On that note, where are we going next week, Kenny?
Which I fancy Ecuador.
Okay, I'll see you in Ecuador in that case. So we'll have a look at Ecuador next week. They've qualified extremely well out of CONMEBOL, and we'll have a look at their chances at the World Cup. Key managers, key players, all of the usual stuff. There'll be Kenny's quiz, there'll be World Cup news. So until then, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Have a great week and look after yourselves, look after each other, and we'll see you next time.
See you soon.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.